Hello everyone and welcome to Online for the Offline. I hope you've all been enjoying the holiday season. This is the time of year where many of us take a much needed break. Some of us chase the sun in Thailand or Malaysia, while others go looking for the postcard perfect Christmas snow in Europe. And if you're still undecided about your next travel destination, don't worry, I may have a suggestion for you.
While strolling through Nashville's Centennial Park, you'll come upon one of its greatest treasures, a full-on replica of the Parthenon in Athens, a mind-blowing, gigantic building that is as majestic as the original.
I'm Wesley Payne. I'm Museum Director of the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. Lots of people ask why there's a Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. It's because Nashville had the nickname from early in the city's history of Athens of the South.
The Parthenon! There's truly no place like it. Where else can you admire the ruins of an ancient civilization and immediately follow it up with a lesson on how to dance the hokey pokey? Now, if you're wondering how I stumbled across this timeless gem, the answer might sound familiar. Instagram. Thanks to the meteoric rise of social media over the past 15 years, travel content has become one of its most dominant genres, fundamentally changing how we choose our vacations. According to recent studies, nearly 85% of millennials use someone else's social posts when planning their vacations, and a staggering 43% of them won't go on a vacation if they can't be sure that their followers can see their vacation posts. In other words, if there isn't crystal clear blue-ass water in sight, they're not packing their bags. This obsession with creating the perfect vacation aesthetic has caused many lesser known destinations to skyrocket in popularity, transforming them overnight. But here's the problem. While travel content has undeniably boosted tourism, there's mounting evidence that the costs may far outweigh the benefits.
Now, countries are cracking down on rowdy travelers with travel on the rise.
When there's more people coming, when the crowds come, more bad behavior tends to come with it. And that's what they need to put a stop to.
Italy joining other countries already working to curb bad behavior, like this one, when a Saudi tourist drove a Maserati down Rome's Spanish Steps, damaging the 18th century marble landmark. And this one, when two Australians were fined for riding electric surfboards down the Grand Canal in Venice.
What might seem like just another symptom of Instagram culture has real-world consequences, not just for the tourism industry, but for the destinations themselves. Overtourism has led to environmental damage, depletion of local resources, and the erosion of cultural heritage and quality of life for its residents. So tonight, we need to talk about travel content, how influencers are reshaping the tourism industry, the unintended consequences of overtourism, and the lasting damage that could occur if nothing changes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Places like Venice and the Maldives, they've always been tourist hotspots. And well, yes, that's true, but to understand how things have changed so dramatically in the social media era, we need to first look back at how tourism worked before Instagram. Let's take Australia, for example. How did they promote tourism back in, say, the 1980s?
G'day viewers, I've just been telling the Yanks how Australia is the best place for a holiday and the friendliest place on earth. The beaches are crisp and clean, beer's cold, and there's plenty of shrimps on the bar. The least we can do is make sure everyone's smiling. I'm not asking you to rent out the spare bedroom or anything. Just flash the pearly whites and say g'day to a visitor.
G'day.
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 Come on, don't make a liar out of me.
That's right, Crocodile Dundee himself, Paul Hogan, inviting you to come on over. It's iconic. It's effective. It's also a little like using Jason Statham to promote tourism in England by showing him kicking a bunch of people and declaring, here in the UK, we will keep you safe. But Hogan's ad is a perfect example of the old school strategy for tourism marketing. Back then, tourism boards relied heavily on traditional advertising. TV commercials, print ads, and radio ads were the primary tools to draw in tourists. And while the mediums have evolved, the core approach of promoting the destination itself remains surprisingly familiar. Take this classic tourism commercial for the Bahamas as another example.
Where do you find all this? If you said the country Columbus first set foot on, you're not only right, you're close. The Bahamas. For a free guide to the hundreds of vacations that make up the Bahamas, just call us. Your dollar goes further in the country that's close.
It's gorgeous, the beaches are stunning, the vibe is perfect, except the ad doesn't tell you about the rising crime rates, the environmental degradation, or the fact that when you arrive, it won't just be one guy serenading you on a porch with his guitar, it'll be 25 people fighting for his spot. This lack of transparency was one of the key reasons traditional advertising started to lose its grip. And as the internet grew, so did its limitations. Traditional ads could only reach so many people. They weren't that versatile, and they had no control over who their audience would be. The Bahamas Tourism Board might air this commercial in the evening, but if their target audience wasn't watching, that's money down the drain. And the effectiveness of these campaigns declined over time. Take Italy in the early 2000s. Following the peaks of 5.5 days in 2000 and 2004, the average length of trips by foreigners to Italy declined rapidly to 4.3 days in 2012. To summarize that a bit more clearly, that's like a tourist spending less time in New York City, or somehow eating less when you visit a Cinnabon. It just shouldn't happen. This posed a real problem for the tourism industry. In some places like the Caribbean islands, tourism accounts for as much as 70% of the country's employment. So when fewer people come, it's not just a missed postcard opportunity, it's an economic crisis. The solution? Enter social media. As platforms like Instagram started taking off, people started to share photos of their vacations.
All the world's a stage, and the evidence of that, from the Golden Gate Bridge to the stunning night sky over Colorado to the southernmost point in Key West, is how all the many players, no matter where they are, snap that obligatory selfie.
It's just kind of like a digital footprint of where you are and what you're doing.
And the place to boast these days is Instagram, which it turns out also drives tourism, often to remote locations. Sometimes it's all about copying someone else's breathtaking post.
Wow, it just looks so magical, doesn't it? Although to be fair, with that many filters, you could make Nebraska look like Prague. But in the early days, many people saw these photos as more authentic than the glossy ads from tourism boards. And in the digital age, authenticity is a goldmine. So instead of spending millions on traditional ad campaigns, tourism boards began paying people with online followings to post about traveling in their country. This gave birth to the career path we now know as the travel influencer, a mutually beneficial relationship that has been wildly successful.
Making money while you travel. That's a pretty big statement, but the thing is, I've been doing it for the past 5 years, so I know it's possible. I've had the ability to work around 20 different countries, 50 international cities, and all I ever needed was a laptop and a phone. So if you guys have those things, then you can do exactly what I did right after this intro.
It sounds too good to be true. Write about your travels and we'll pay for your expenses. It's like when I worked as a waiter and part of my pay structure was a free lunch. But for travel influencers, these perks are very real. And for tourism boards, it's a jackpot. On average, brands make $5.78 for every dollar spent on influencer campaigns. That means if a tourism board spends $100 million on influencer marketing, they're expected to return $578 million in income. And it's not just about the money. It's about the reach. Studies show 85% of millennials rely on social media posts when planning vacations. And a 2017 survey of British adults aged 18 to 33 found that 40% of respondents cited how Instagrammable a travel destination would be as their most important motivator when deciding where to go on vacation. A follow-up of Gen Z travelers found that how many TikTok views and likes their holiday videos will likely generate was the single most influential factor in their destination decisions. coming in at number 1 for 43% of respondents. With results like these, it's no wonder that every party in the travel industry wants in. 70% of brands use influencer marketing. 49% of hoteliers see social media as the second most important marketing and sales priority. And 80% of travel marketers use Facebook to launch paid ad campaigns. It's a full-blown bandwagon. But when everyone is doing the same thing, chasing the same goals, the cracks inevitably begin to show. And the first signs of strain? They came from the influencers themselves.
So when I'm on an influencer shoot, typically the days are like 12 to 14 hours or so. And that's like mostly shooting, very little break. And at the end of that, sometimes you have like a content deadline, which means that you have to have content from that day available for the brand to review so that they can make sure that it's good. So you'll be up till 1 a.m. editing that content. You'll send it over, make sure that they approve it so that you can post it the next day. And then you wake up at sunrise and you do the same thing over and over again.
It's amazing how the word influencer immediately conjures up this image of someone living their best life, setting their own hours, traveling the world, all while earning piles of cash while they're lounging by an infinity pool. But in reality, they're probably sitting in a windowless room for 10 hours, agonizing over whether the Valencia or Juno filters make their breakfast look more inspiring. The truth is, being a travel influencer isn't as glamorous as it looks. While the public sees perfect sun-soaked photos, what's often hidden are the significant challenges behind those photos. After all, their job is to make it look like a dream life. And like most jobs, that dream comes with some serious downsides. One major issue is the relentless pressure to produce content. As with many self-employed jobs, there is no clear line between work and rest. If you're not working, you feel guilty about not working, especially when your work involves being on vacation. As one influencer put it, your mind will always be at work. It always feels like work, work, and more work. Imagine trying to relax on the beach, but instead of soaking up the sun, you're staging your 12th photo of the day to make sure that your cocktail glass catches the light just right. Then there's the problem of inconsistent income. For influencers just starting out, ad revenue is their main source of income. And ad revenue, for those of you who are unfamiliar, basically works like this. The platform serves ads to its viewers. They take a cut of the money and then throw some loose change at the creator. So if you don't have a big following, you're essentially making content for free.
And there's been times, especially when I first got started, where it looked like I was traveling every day. Looks like I was doing epic things every day, working with epic hotels, working with the biggest brands. And I'm gonna be entirely honest with you, and no one will really tell you this, but a lot of those jobs I did not get paid one dime for. But even worse, the content I created for the brands probably generated them thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they are profiting massively off of me creating something for free. And a lot of times I even went out of pocket for it. And this is the story for so many influencers, especially people that are trying to become travel influencers, is they'll pay out of pocket, they'll work for free just to show a lifestyle that they want to live and they want to show other people, but they're not actually making a dime off of it.
This creates a massive gap between the bigger influencers and the newer ones. Bigger influencers get sponsorship deals to provide stability of income, while smaller ones are stuck praying that their posts get enough views to pay rent. And no one can control how many people see a post. If someone could, they'd be the most popular person on the internet. And no, I am not speaking about anyone specifically, so we will move swiftly on. Another challenge is isolation. The very nature of a travel influencer's job of hopping from destination to destination across the world makes it hard to build a stable social circle. And sure, working solo does have its advantages. It's flexible, it's efficient, but when you're alone on the road for weeks at a time, even the most beautiful beaches feel lonely. And as isolating as it is, arguably the most damaging challenge influencers face is backlash. Social media puts everything they say or do under a microscope. Any post can become a lightning rod for criticism, and the constant barrage of negative feedback can take a serious mental toll. As someone who also posts online, I get it. You guys always send such kind and encouraging messages, and I'm so grateful for them. But in moments of vulnerability, I can't help but think about Swedish Money 4489's comment. This guy's alright. Defiantly did not sub. Mixed signals, man. Was it okay or was it bad? Swedish Money, please tell me. I need some sleep. But for all these problems, content pressure, inconsistent income, isolation, public backlash, They are all just the beginning. Things get even murkier when we discuss the influencers' relationships with the tourism boards that hire them. Take Shivya Nath, a popular travel influencer who detailed her experiences on her own blog, The Shooting Star. What she revealed was shocking. I know I shouldn't be burning bridges with digital and PR agencies, especially since brand collaborations account for a significant part of my income. But they ask me to dupe readers by not disclosing paid associations because of brand protocol. They want me to talk to the camera for 2 minutes, explaining why their travel insurance is the best out there, when I've never heard of or used it before. They urge me to highlight the environmental efforts of the very fossil fuel and single-use plastic producing companies that are destroying our planet. They want me to commit to a certain number of views and comments, like I run the goddamn Instagram algorithm. And worse yet, they ask me to pay them so I can be included in one of a billion repackaged lists of top travel influencers on the internet. That's like working in a company's sales department only for your boss to come over and say, hey, if you want to be our top seller, you need to buy all the products yourself. This highlights a bigger issue. Authenticity. Authenticity is crucial in social media marketing, especially in travel content. But tourism boards often pressure influencers to fake authenticity, forcing them into uncomfortable positions and diluting the experience they're promoting. Even worse, it erodes the trust influencers have painstakingly built with their audience. And it's here the priorities of tourism boards become painfully clear. Their goal isn't authenticity. It isn't the well-being of influencers. And it certainly isn't the preservation of the destinations they're advertising. It's about one thing and one thing only: making money. Which brings us to the most discussed issue relating to the use of travel influencer marketing in the tourism industry, that its effects have snowballed and has resulted in what many call overtourism.
Recently, thousands of protesters in Spain calling out mass tourism and its impact on local affordable housing. At Japan's magnificent Mount Fuji, there's a new fee and visitor cap. And even Venice, Italy, a tourist mainstay,
St. Mark's Square is super crowded,
is now charging day trippers to help thin out throngs of sightseers.
ResponsibleTravel.com defines overtourism as what occurs when there are too many visitors to a particular destination. Too many is a subjective term, of course, but it is defined in each destination by local residents, hosts, business owners, and tourists. When rental prices push out local tenants to make way for holiday rentals, that is overtourism. When narrow roads become jammed with tourist vehicles, that is overtourism. When I'm driving down the highway and someone cuts me off to get in front of me, that's not overtourism, but it's still a problem. I mean, why don't people use indicators anymore? But overtourism is a huge problem. Too little tourists and the destination fails to generate enough income. Too many tourists? Well, the quality of life for locals in that destination dramatically suffers.
It's a fight. Every day it's a fight. And we still survive, but I'm not. They call us the pandas of Venice, the few left citizens.
There must be a way to contain this. Okay, there is a maximum amount of tourists this place can carry. So this huge flow we're getting every day, it's just unbearable.
Every single day you find a problem, when you had to cross the street, when you had to buy something, when you had to get the public boat.
It's kind of destroying the community because everything is catered for tourists. There are more short-let flats than permanent residency for locals.
We don't have enough flats for inhabitants. So people are moving away because you cannot find a place to live here.
Losing people, losing inhabitants means losing the character of the city. Now it's becoming Disneyland.
That's a pretty strong thing to say. Equating a city like Venice, a city with some of the most beautiful architecture and deep-rooted history, equating that to Disneyland, aka a streaming service in real life. That is exactly how locals feel across many popular tourist destinations. They are all experiencing the same problems that have just been mentioned. During its peak hours, they cannot walk peacefully around in their own city. The noise pollution from these tourists is damaging to the surrounding area. And on top of that, many of the resources that they need to survive can end up depleted thanks to the day trippers that take them before they can reach it. The infrastructure at these tourist sites, 9 times out of 10, cannot withstand the strain that overtourism places upon them. And so it becomes very difficult to live in a city like Venice, which, as they said, is getting incredibly difficult to move to permanently, with decreases in long-term rentals in favor of short-term rentals, which decreases the number of permanent inhabitants. And the less permanent residents, the less character the destination possesses. This can lead to local businesses closing in favor of new businesses that are more favorable to tourists. Over time, more and more of their cultural individuality will be replaced with tourist-demanded services, until the destination has no culture left and is completely dependent on tourism for its survival. It's not just Venice. The popular tourist destination of Hallstatt, Austria, is experiencing the same struggles. If you just missed it there, it was reported that roughly 10,000 tourists visit the town every single day, all because of the rumor that the city was the inspiration for the movie Frozen. And although the town's reputation as a salt mining city has faded over time, they are still considered the saltiest village in the world. But this is a great example of the seismic effect overtourism can have after a destination gains popularity on Instagram. A city of 741 people must accommodate the 3 million people that visit the town every year. Its reputation as a serene, quiet Austrian village has transformed into a photo zone where people come and take their pictures and then leave without any care for the residents. It's like if you're having your morning breakfast and then out of nowhere someone comes and stands on your table, takes a picture and leaves. And if someone did that to me, I would be standing to block the doorway too. The signs they were holding up had phrases such as visitors limitation, reclaim habitat, world culture at its end, tourism yes, mass tourism no. And I think that's a key point to take away from protests like these. The locals aren't completely against tourism, as the town financially benefits from people spending money there. But where they draw the line is where that number of tourists gets unbearable and it causes damage to the destination. And that damage is not just in the quality of life. The environmental impact of over-tourism can be devastating.
One last photo, one last chance for hundreds of tourists to visit Maya Bay before its white beach is closed for 4 months. It's been nearly 2 decades since this small island bay was made famous by The Beach, a film with a dark plot and a beautiful setting. Since then, a daily flotilla of tourist boats have brought thousands of visitors, all in search of an unspoiled Thai paradise. Most of them instead leaving with a collection of selfies on a less than deserted beach.
It's really beautiful. But it's kind of sad though at the same time to know that they're closing because tourists have spent so much time here and kind of ruined the natural life.
The beach is being put out of bounds to give its coral reef and sea life a chance to recover after years of unrestricted tourism.
In the past, we will make some mistake because we think that money is very important. But now we are trying to change our idea. But the most important thing is our natural resource that we have to preserve.
Wow, that was such an honest response. Yeah, at first we thought like money was the most important thing. But then we realized like, oh shit, this shit is dying. We should probably stop doing this, right? But he's exactly right. Maya Bay was made famous by the Leonardo DiCaprio movie The Beach as this secret paradise. So naturally, the entire world wanted to travel to see it. In 2016, 1.73 million visitors traveled to the White Beach. And if you can imagine similar numbers every year since the movie was released in 2000, you can guess that around 30 million people have visited this beach. So it's no wonder that the coral and wildlife of the area suffered dramatically. And this is another widely discussed symptom of overtourism, especially in destinations that rely on their natural landscape, like the Great Barrier Reef, Dubrovnik, or Boracay. The qualities that make these destinations so beautiful and so appealing to tourists are being damaged because of the tourists. So the Tourism Board of Thailand made the right call. They closed off the spot to allow the wildlife to heal. Until 2022, when it reopened again. Maya Bay saw more than 1.6 million visitors from October 2023 to July 2024. It's clear once again that tourism boards are obligated to use destinations like these to generate a profit. And when there are so many people visiting this destination, the destination can continue to maintain and even grow the profits they make. Another hugely popular tourist destination is Bali, Indonesia. The BBC reported that because of tourism, the Indonesian island is under threat of increased deforestation, as the area makes way for the tourism industry and Indonesia's growing population. Tourism is growing at an exponential rate, but the infrastructure is not, resulting in mountains of waste that have nowhere to go. They also added that the introduction of non-native animals and plants also threaten the island. When a tourist destination begins to cater to their tourists, not only do they affect the quality of life for its inhabitants, but they also put severe strain on the natural environment, eventually pushing it over its limits and causing its beauty to die. And finally, the location I found to be the greatest example of destruction to quality of life, cultural heritage, and its environment is... I can't pronounce that, I'm so sorry. The canyon in Iceland is a microcosm of how overtourism has world-shaping environmental impacts.
I have been offered some bribes, some foreign food from their home countries. A trip to Dubai.
Wait, you received bribes? How can someone want an Instagram picture so badly that they're willing to give someone an entire vacation in Dubai? Also, they can post that photo to get a single reply of the fire emoji. Once an isolated and serene landscape, the environment was healthy and untouched. Once travel influencers discovered the site, Instagram's algorithm turned this hidden gem into a viral sensation. This led to the creative team of Justin Bieber discovering this location and selecting it as the backdrop for his music video for I'll Show You. Within a few years, the canyon's visitors grew from around 3,000 per year to 300,000. That's like hosting a party for 5 people, only for 500 to show up with muddy boots and no respect for your carpet. Overtourism isn't just a local problem. It's a planetary one. This Icelandic canyon is a cautionary tale about the delicate balance between enjoying natural wonders and preserving them for future generations. When a single canyon gets overrun, it's not about the specific spot. It's a symptom of how we interact with nature as a global society. And that's what makes overtourism in the age of travel influencer marketing so difficult to solve. A question you might have had throughout this entire episode might be, how does travel influencer marketing lead to overtourism? Well, let's start with the obvious. Social media is a megaphone, and influencers are the ones shouting into it.
Let's start this video off in Croatia. I was able to go to Croatia last summer, and it quickly became one of my favorite countries. From the incredible scenery of the Dalmatian coast to medieval seaside towns, Croatia is one of Europe's hidden gems.
Yeah, Croatia is such a hidden gem, for sure. No one knows about it. Like when they played football in the World Cup final in 2018, everyone was like, who is this Croatia? When influencers post pictures of these pristine, undiscovered locations, they're essentially putting up a neon sign that says, hey, everyone, come here immediately. Their millions of followers rush to see these spots for themselves, taking selfies that make it look like they discovered the place. It's like a global scale game of telephone, but instead of just a message, it's a stampede. For small destinations like Hallstatt, infrastructure crumbles, locals are overwhelmed, and the environment bears the brunt. But here's the thing. influencers aren't the sole villains. Tourism boards demand that travel influencers post inauthentic content, and platforms like Instagram and TikTok amplify the problem by rewarding that content and giving it great performance. The message is clear. If it looks appealing, it will go viral. And viral posts don't come with disclaimers like, by the way, this place can't handle 10,000 people showing up tomorrow. Now, I want to be clear. Overtourism existed before Instagram, but social media has added a layer of chaos that is difficult to manage. First, destinations have to contend with instantaneous virality. A location can go from hidden gem to overrun in just a matter of days. Second, the influencer thrives on self-promotion over sustainability. Even if one influencer urges responsible travel, another 10 will jump in, eager to get their perfect travel shot. It's like someone trying to bail water out of a sinking ship while 10 other people are drilling holes in the hull. And finally, we need to talk about the tourism mindset. Once a location is popular, people will flock to it simply because it's famous. They don't stop to consider if the place is overcrowded or if their presence is part of the problem.
Canary Islands have a total population of just over 2 million inhabitants, but in 2023, they received almost 14 million visitors. Other popular destinations in Europe face a similar battle. Venice has a population of around 50,000, but around 20 million more people come here every year.
Tourists often treat these places like stages for their personal brands. Snap a picture, slap on a hashtag, and move on. And this is why many responsible travel organizations have found it difficult to change this mindset. Instagram tourists in particular are not repeat offenders at the same location in very many cases. They come once and take their photo. That's what makes it so difficult to educate and inform these people. It's hard to solve overtourism when so many travelers don't even realize they're contributing to the problem. So, what does the future hold if we continue down this path? First, local communities suffer. When overtourism drives out residents, the unique culture of the destination erodes, leaving behind a hollow shell that is designed to cater to its visitors. It's the tourism equivalent of a theme park. Artificial, commercialized, and soulless. Second, there's the environmental impact. Destinations like the Great Barrier Reef, Maya Bay, and Iceland's Canyon show how fragile natural wonders are. If overtourism isn't addressed, we'll see more ecosystems pushed to the brink, and some might not even recover. And finally, there's the tourism paradox. The very thing that makes a place worth visiting, its beauty, culture, or serenity, it will eventually disappear. And when that happens, the destinations won't be desirable anymore, leaving locals without tourism revenue and without the home they once knew. Right now, popular destinations face a choice. They can either implement sustainable tourism practices and protect what makes them so special, or they can keep chasing profits and watch as their unique qualities vanish. Travel influencer marketing is not going away, and neither is social media. But unless we find a way to balance promotion with preservation, the places we love to visit today might not exist tomorrow. So what can be done to help solve all these issues we've talked about? Well, despite all the doom and gloom, there are efforts underway to help tackle overtourism and help travel influencers navigate the pressures of their own industry. Some destinations are finally taking a stand, finally realizing that they can't keep playing host to millions of visitors without suffering significant consequences.
Well, the city of Venice, with its picturesque canals, has long drawn visitors from around the world. But the city's charm has a downside too. Venice is suffering from too much tourism. This week, it became the first city in the world to charge tourists a fee to enter. Anyone visiting the city for a day trip must pay €5 during a trial that runs through most of July. It's hoped the fee will protect the UNESCO World Heritage Site from some of the effects of mass tourism.
Cities like Amsterdam and Barcelona have introduced visitor caps, tourism taxes, and even restricted short-term rental platforms like Airbnb. These measures are designed to prioritize local residents and protect cultural identity while still allowing tourists to visit, just in smaller, more manageable numbers. Other locations like Maya Bay in Thailand have opted for temporary closures each year to allow their wildlife to recover, effectively telling tourists, you can come back later, nature just needs a nap for a little bit. And then there's Hallstatt, which implemented a designated photo zone for tourists. Yes, You heard that right. Specific spots where influencers can take their photos without trampling over everything else. It's like putting toddlers in a playpen. But these solutions are a balancing act. Clamp down too hard and you risk killing tourism entirely. Too soft and you're back to square one with selfie sticks blocking the sunset. And let's not forget, travel influencers face burnout too. The constant need to churn out content, chase trends, and maintain an aspirational image can take its toll. Some influencers are addressing this by promoting what's called slow travel, focusing on fewer destinations but for longer stays. This approach not only reduces their environmental footprint, but also allows them to connect more deeply with the places they visit. Others are shifting their focus from promoting these hidden gems to advocating for well-known, well-prepared tourist destinations. Essentially saying, if you're going to flood a place, at least flood a place that has bathrooms and a gift shop. And finally, many travel influencers are opening up about their struggles with mental health and the pressure to be constantly on. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok have been rolling out features to encourage healthier content creation habits, but let's be honest, that's like asking that algorithm to have a conscience. And the question that I made this entire episode with the intention of answering: are travel influencers truly good for the tourism industry? Here's the complicated truth. Travel influencers are both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, they boost the profile of lesser known destinations, bringing in much needed revenue and encouraging others to explore the world. On the other hand, they can create unsustainable waves of tourism, leaving communities and ecosystems to clean up their mess. The real question is whether influencers can evolve their role in tourism. Can they move from being hype machines to stewards of responsible travel? Some already are, using their platform to educate their followers about sustainability and over-tourism. But for every influencer encouraging people to respect the nature of these destinations, there's always another dangling off the edge of a cliff for likes. The tourism industry has a lot to gain from these influencers if they're part of the solution. But without stricter guidelines, education, and accountability, they'll continue to be a double-edged sword. Ultimately, over-tourism and influencer burnout are symptoms of the same problem: a culture of excess. Too many tourists, too much content, and not enough thought about the consequences. The future of tourism depends on balance, finding ways to celebrate the world's beauty whilst not destroying it in the process. So whether you're a destination looking to manage crowds, an influencer trying to find your voice, or a tourist planning your next trip, here's the takeaway: travel responsibly, because the most breathtaking destinations on Earth deserve more than to be reduced to an Instagram caption. And if you are thinking about traveling to these Instagrammable places like Athens in Greece, destinations like that with such amazing historical monuments will probably be feeling the effects of over-tourism. So have a bit of a look around, because maybe, just maybe, you can get the same experience of Athens halfway across the world in a city like Nashville. Hey, they were thinking ahead. I finally get it. Or maybe you don't want to just simply travel. Maybe you want to move somewhere else permanently, somewhere quieter and peaceful, trying to escape this fast-paced lifestyle promoted by social media. Well, there's actually an entire movement based on this very idea. And we covered it last episode. It's called the cottagecore trend. And not only does it promote this idea, it also holds a dark secret that could affect the next political movement. So if you want to find out, check it out. I've been Robbo, and I'll see you there.